Okay, so it's finally done rendering. What you're gonna see is this sort of um, texture, but it's really irrelevant. I'm gonna close that out. I don't need it. And actually, what I like to do at this point is kind of show you what we've done. To do that, I'm gonna actually save it because I want to return to this position. I don't want to have to do all of this projection mapping all over again. It's going to be a pain, so I'm just going to save it as is. And to test this out now, once you've saved it, you can close that out. Now you can get rid of the projection. And now you can actually, let's hide our high poly model. And I'm going to just show you. So right now, if you look at our low poly model, let's see, to best show, I guess, normal mapping, it's good to put a light in the scene. In this case, I'm just going to put a basic, standard Omni. You can spend more time, doing some beautiful lighting, but I'm just going to put just real quick Omni just to test it out, just to see how we did here. So, if my computer would just work. Come on. Okay. It's getting there. Alright. So it's actually really dim. So and that's because I was playing around with it, but the important thing is let's turn on shadows, because normal map does use shadows. Um, and let's just put the intensity up. Oh, it's up. Okay, never mind. I guess I don't know. Let's just have something going on my screen. All right. So if I just take a look at what it looks like right now, okay, not too fancy. It's got some stuff here, but it's lacking all those details of the high poly model. So how do we get those details? Real simple. We're going to now give this a material. Just open this up. I'm going to create a new material here. Um, just call this building material. And just for the purposes of testing out our normal map. Um, Actually, at this point, I want to show you what we had created this with the normal map projection. So let me just find it. Um, let's see. Okay, here it is. So this is what it basically gave us. Pretty cool. This is definitely looks like a normal map. So it looks like we did it right. And this is what your normal map should essentially look like. Okay, the next step, what we need to do is to put that in to see if it actually works as a normal maps. And the way we do that is under maps, under this material that we just created. Um, and by the way, I would go ahead and just apply it to the object so that it just has it. Okay, so you don't have to worry about applying it later. Um, what we want is we want the bump. You see it's set to 30. That's fine for now, just leave it. But what we want to do is under none, open that up. And we're not going to go right to bitmap and apply it as a normal. We're going to click right here where it says normal bump. Hit OK. Come on. I swear this works. Huh. There it is. Okay. What you're going to find is it's going to pop this up now. And now underneath normal, now is where you want to grab that bitmap. So choose bitmap and then hit OK. And eventually, it should pop up. Come on. It's really slow. Sorry. Okay. So here it is. I'm going to go ahead and find it. Hopefully you saved it to somewhere better than what I have set up here, but just grab it. Okay, there it is. Building 02, low poly, normals map. Open that up, and that should be it. You can go up all the way to the base level now. That way we're right here. That's what we want. Then just render it out. And we'll take a look. Okay, so here you can clearly see the details. You know, there we have the those details I was talking about. You can see the window frame, some of them, and you know it's hard to tell the edges, but they are, you know, they're probably capturing those beveled edges as well. So overall, you know, pretty cool. We got our high poly details, so it's definitely different. You can see now also the bump. If you want to really, you know, you could turn it up to like 100 if you want, just to really test it out. And you can see there, really much more dramatic. I generally don't really like to do that, but you know, if you feel inclined, you can always just increase those bump numbers. Just if you really feel like you want more, you know, more of that detail to show through. If you feel like it's not doing it, so pretty cool. That's how it's done. That's how we create normal maps using a low poly model and a high poly model. So okay, the next thing I want to show you is how we get the baked lighting. So I'll close this out, just delete this, and actually you can probably see more detail if you do it this way. Yep. So it just looks better with the light, but you know, if you really want to see the normal map details showing through, you can see right there. I like to use light because it actually interacts with the normal mapping, like shadows and stuff. So it's really neat. But you can see all the details there. You know, this wasn't on our low poly model. This is all being created by the texture map. Okay, cool. So we'll move forward and use the same technique to create some baked textures. Okay, so at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my last saved. So I don't want to save it now. That was just for testing purposes. So I want to revert back to where I last saved with the projection map. So here it is. I got my building 02 low poly, right? So there's two ways to create a diffuse map using this method. One, we can create one without lighting, basically just like any texture map you would have where it's just textures. There's really if you were to paint a texture map, for example, for this, you would go into Photoshop, you would create the colors, and then you would have to use the UV W to kind of pinpoint, where the geometry is. It's really a pain, and I used to do that, and I find that this is actually a much better way to create a texture map. It I've already got the model, I've already got the high poly model. So, and what I do is I just color the high poly model. I basically just, color it in however I want. I can create geometry, like for the doors. I can color in the doorknobs, the colors that I want, and basically I can take this and turn it into a texture map without having to, do it from scratch in Photoshop. So it's really handy, and this is how I do it. So let's go back to our low poly building, and once again we have both stuff open, our high poly and our low poly. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to once again go to my render to texture. So everything stays the same essentially from before. It's basically the same, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually delete the normals map for now, because I don't want to create another normals map at this point. I've already got that, but now I'm going to go ahead and add, and we're going to do diffuse map, add elements, and name diffuse map is fine. It's going to give it now we just want to make sure that it's saving to the right spot. So there it is. It's for me, it's saving to the same spot where I have my normal map. So that's perfectly fine for me. I like that. Go ahead and save it there. 24-bit, no alpha channel. Hit OK. Target map slot. Once again, it's not important, but just set it to diffuse, and the width and the height. So for the diffuse, I don't do the whole scale up scale down thing. What I do is I'll just have it whatever I end up deciding it to be. So maybe 1024 in this case. I probably wouldn't go over that, it's just too big. But the next part is important. So for the first diffuse map that we'll be creating, we're not going to check the lighting or the shadows. This is going to be just texture, pure texture, nothing else. And then that's it. But before I hit render, there's one last thing you need to do. For this diffuse map, what we need to do to create basically a solid color. Think about the texture map as, we don't want any see how this side is darker, we don't want that side to be darker. We want to think of it as, the whole model is uniform, all the colors are one color. The doors are all this color of brown, the walls are all this color of red, etc. So the way we ensure that is we're going to add a light, and the light that we're going to add is a skylight. And so if you pop that in there, there's our skylight. Basically this will kill all of the shadows and make the colors just be their colors. So what you're seeing is just the color of the texture rather than the texture with lighting and shadows. Okay. So after we've put in a skylight, go ahead and select your low poly back. There it is. Go back to your render to texture. There it is. And okay. So I'm gonna actually call this we'll call this diffuse map, because that's really what it is. It's just a diffuse. And go ahead and render. And once again, it's going to take a while to do all this, so you just wait.